everyone, and welcome to another episode of Studio Insights with the Belvista Studios team. We've got Kim, Victoria, and myself, Hannah. And in Studio Insights, we ask each other questions to learn from each other and improve what we do. Before we get into the episode, if you are looking for advanced instructional design training and you want to take your skills to the next level, I highly recommend checking out our courses on the Creator Hub. We will put a link in the description, so go and check out what's on offer. There's some great things for you to get involved with. Before we get into asking each other questions to learn from each other, we always start with a little, it's like an airy-fairy little question that gives a little vibe of what our question's going to be. Victoria hates it, but I think Kim likes it a little bit. But this question for this video is, if your question was a logo, what would it look like and why?
Mine would be the McDonald's logo.
Oh, that's random.
Because my question is to do with like persuasion. And I feel like McDonald's is one of those things where like you might not think you feel like it, or you might not think you want it, and then you see it and you're like, oh, we'll stop there. I think on like road trips, I would say, like whenever I'm on a road trip, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get McDonald's.
Love
That's
that.
cool. I actually made up a logo in my head, and it is the colors of the rainbow, and it's a little circle, and it's representing the globe, and sticking out of it is all shapes and sizes.
Wow. Very cool. My logo, I made it up as well, and it is a rectangle with like heaps of different things like coming out of it. Like the rectangle can't withhold everything that's within it.
Oh yeah, cool.
It's like bursting, like shapes like bursting out of it, and words and font and whatever.
Intriguing.
Cool. All right. Vic, do you want to ask your question first?
Now that we're all hungry.
So I wanted to get tips from you, Hannah, based on a couple of tasks you've had recently, one being the ID for a project and the other being looking into like a script writing thing for a we'll call it like a grant or like funding opportunity. And I feel like with both of those, writing for both of those, there's like an element of like you need to persuade the person reading the content or like listening to the content to do something, whether it's for us or for themselves. So like, what are your tips to write in like that persuasive way? Like, how do you like convince people to do something?
Good question. Well, I think first of all, you need to understand who they are. So you need to get an understanding of like who your audience is. When you know who your audience is, you can, like our usual thing, like think about what's important to them. And whatever's important to them, link it to what you want them to do. So show them how whatever you want them to do will meet their needs for what's important to them, and like incorporate that through your writing. So an example of that is like if you want people to use a new program, for example, like a new software program, and you're trying to convince people to use it, you might discover that the audience values finishing work on time or not making mistakes and having to apologize to the customer, or not being like stressed and not being able to get your work done in like your allocated work hours, or work-life balance, or their family, or whatever that is. So you need to figure out how the new software program and them using it will help them to meet those things. For example, using this new software program will help you to get things done quicker, meaning that you can leave work on time and go home to your family and like spend quality time with them rather than staying back late and dealing with software programs that don't work or take 10 times longer than what it needs to take. So I think definitely linking to that. I think also thinking about like how your audience speaks, not in terms of like, oh, well, yeah, also their language. Like you obviously want to write in their language if they speak a different language, but like what's their tone of voice or the way they talk. For example, if you're writing something for outdoor workers, it might be different to say like people in like an executive office or something who might be used to hearing more like professional language, where like outdoor they might be a bit more casual and call each other mate, and they might like appreciate a different way of speaking. So considering like what sort of language they use, and you can do that by like observing them or thinking about someone you know who's in their position. Well, I think also from what we learnt in our excursion last week, where we wrote about writing for social change, is to, oh, what was it? I've forgotten it now. Oh, yeah. So like give them like real world examples. So examples out in the world that will convince them. So for example, if you say that there's a problem and that the thing that they're going to do is going to solve that problem, like what examples are there in the world that you can share with them to provide them with some evidence of like how the problem exists in the world. So that's another way. I think keeping it like there's obviously lots of different styles of writing, but keeping it as short as possible so people don't lose interest and can't deal with like reading thousands of words. Like if you can say something in less words, then that's better, and you can like get your message across a lot stronger, I think, rather than them having to like read for ages to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them exactly what they need to do. So once you've convinced them of what they need to do, like they need to understand what it actually looks like in the world. So consider like if they were going to be persuaded and do something differently, what exactly would that look like and what exactly would they have to do? Don't leave it like ambiguous. They're the main things that are coming up for now.
Yeah. That did make me think of like sort of a follow-up question. So I know I like use the two examples of like you're doing the ID and then you're doing like the grant video planning stuff. Do you think you use the same approach for both? Because I was just, when you were saying stuff like, oh, like you need to know the audience, you need to know the language, like all that kind of stuff, for you to apply that to the grant video rather than the ID. Like, because to me, the grant video, it's like us speaking from the heart as like how our team works, or like being authentic to us. But do you still think there's like a need to figure out like, oh, what exactly are they looking for? Like, how can we tie in our like genuine stuff with, we think this would get them to like this would persuade them if we speak in this way? Or
yeah, well, I have thought about that, and like even how to like because Kim's going to be like using that script basically, how she can introduce herself and like say hello to the people that are going to be looking at the grant. Like I didn't know whether like just saying hey or like saying hello to the people that are here today judging, like really like make it human centered and show that like we've like appreciated them as human beings and we're not just like writing to anything. But it is hard because we don't know like who's going to be on the panel, so we don't fully understand like their characteristics or anything like that. But I've definitely considered like that part of it. And then there's also with the grant, like there's different criteria that we need to meet as well, and they've like worded it in a certain way. So I think the way that we respond needs to like use the language that they've used within the criteria, because if you put yourself in the shoes of the panel that would be looking at it, like they're going to be saying, did they do this? And if we've like said it exactly how they've asked, it's going to be a lot easier for them to say like they've actually listened to us.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a balance of like making sure we use their language from the grant, actually answer their questions properly, but also bring like our own authenticity to it as well. And like knowing that the judging panel are human beings, like using strategies like tapping into their emotion, like things that all human beings feel. Well, I don't know if everyone does. Everyone has different extents of it. But like, for example, saying something that's going to get them to feel emotionally connected to your story, or like considering things like that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I've done with the grant.
Yeah.
So there are crossovers,
Yeah.
but I do see them as a little bit different, but I'm not always good at seeing like the bigger picture. So Kim may say they're exactly the same thing. I'm not sure. What do you think, Kim?
I've been trying to figure out all the differences in my head, but I'm confusing myself. Because like I feel like with ID, it's like we're trying to convince people to do something for themselves, like for their benefit.
Yeah.
But the grant, it's like we're going to get something, so it's like a benefit to us.
Yeah.
Also a benefit to them if they pick the right person, being hopefully us, if that makes sense. Because then like whatever they were hoping to achieve is like achieved via us, which also benefits them.
Yeah.
But it's like we're asking for something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's like the balance of they just need to tick off whether we've answered the question, whether they like us as human beings or not. They might be like, do not vibe with that person, but they've literally answered every criteria thing perfectly. But then is there also like the undertone of like, if people like you and see you're authentic, they're more likely to grade you higher on a question?
Yeah, well, I would have thought that would
I mean?
do it, like the like personal, not personal, but like personality, maybe. Like if they have 50,000 applicants and 40,000 of them have all met the criteria, then it's like, what else do you base it off other than who gives us a good vibe, like who seems like connected to it and stuff.
It does actually, one of the criteria mentions like being genuine.
Yeah.
So I think like they've incorporated that in there.
Yeah. How do you know? They don't know us.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing. Someone could be like stone cold, no emotion, but that's them being genuine. That's how they are every day.
What do you think, Kim? Because I had cut in before you could answer, so I could get my own
No. On which part do you want perspective on?
All of it.
All of it.
Like if you think it's different, the ID approach and the grant approach.
I think I always look for patterns, right? And it's like there's a goal. How do you communicate in the most effective way to hit that goal? So whether it's a learning objective and we have training content or whatever it is to help that person achieve the learning objective, it's writing in the language that we put our best way forward for them to achieve that in a way that resonates with them. Same deal with like the grant writing or something that has like criteria, like an assessment for university. It's like that learning objective, the assessment criteria for a grant or whatever, that's the goal that you're trying to achieve. You have to articulate and communicate in your way, hitting that, expressing it in your way, but it's still like there's an objective, your current state, how do you communicate that you achieve and hit that objective? And the difference is expressing it in your way. Like if Hannah's like, hey, go mate, and I might be like, hey, how are you? You know, we're still saying hi to the person.
Yeah, that's true.
What are you thinking, Hannah? You've gone.
No, I'm just processing. I think that's right. I agree. I was reflecting on my script actually, going, what have I written? Does it sound like him? I was like in that world. Maybe I'll just take that out and you can decide how you'd like to go.
Yeah.
Howdy.
It's kind of like, okay, here's another way of looking at it to simplify it, is the majority of us need to wear clothes every day, right? So we put on clothes. The objective is whatever, keep warm, keep cool. whatever that might be, your style, what you feel comfortable in. But at the end of the day, you're like, I need to wear clothes to go outside today. And at the end of the day, we each dress differently, but we're still wearing clothes, which is the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
What are you smiling at, Vic? Yeah. Keep it G-rated, but
no, I was just thinking of stupid examples. Like I was thinking with the difference in you two, I was thinking Kim would be like, "Hey mate, how you going?" And Hannah's would be like, "To whom it may concern." And the clothes, like, Hannah would be corporate. Hannah would be in her best pantsuit. Kim would be in the van with her cap on.
Yeah, I did actually, like, for the intro, it was something like to the something judging panel, and it sounded like so corporate, and I was like, nah. And I just changed it to hey, because I'm like, nah, too corporate.
But you're right, you are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To whom this may concern.
Hey, stranger.
Oh,
Thanks for your insights.
Oh, good.
No worries. All right, Kim, you can ask your question.
Yeah, cool. I think it builds on that a bit. So, my question is to you, Hannah, in terms of you were in a situation recently where I feel like you were a person that we would have to empathize with when creating a learning solution to make something more accessible for various different reasons. Like accessibility isn't just about people that don't have access to a mouse or keyboard or audio. It's about where are they at in terms of communication, sight, how are we bringing in the senses, building on knowledge, skills, experience. So you were in the situation where you're kind of thrown into a situation that can help you now better empathize with making learning more accessible. What are your reflections or things we should be doing when considering the solutions we're making? You might not have the answers, but you might have questions or insights or how you felt to share, which would help us.
I think like slow things down. Like don't go at the normal pace that you think would be good for you, because for other people they might need more time to process to understand something.
Okay.
I think make them feel included from the beginning. Maybe like point out the elephant in the room that they're different from the beginning, so it's not an elephant in the room. Like recognize them for who they are, but not in like a demeaning way, in like a it's great, we're all different, like this is going to be interesting, cool sort of way.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
I think incorporate like some stability or normality for them that they're used to. Like, for example, it would be like having like if they use, for accessibility, use their keyboard to navigate things, like definitely including that, because that is their foundation or what they're used to doing. If it's like something where they need to communicate or provide insight, like it might be like an input text box, or they need to like record a video or speak to a coach or something like that, just understanding that their personality may not come through and that can feel uncomfortable for them. They may not be able to like connect with the experience in the way that they usually would if it was accessible.
Which person are you referring to there when you said about the coaching? The person being coached or the person coaching?
So it's like the learner in situations where they're communicating, whether it's in person with another person or like writing communication. Just know that their personality may not come through and it might be like robotic because they're just trying to like keep their head above water, basically.
Yeah.
A support person is helpful if that's available. Just like eases the stress a little bit, like someone they trust. I think asking them questions about their life and experience so you can incorporate that into the experience.
Can you give me an example of that if you have one on mind?
So it would be like conducting user interviews with them to like find out about how, like, what their day-to-day life looks like.
Yeah.
And incorporating that like in examples that you use in the learning experience, or rather than just like basing it on someone who's different to them, all the scenarios and things like that. Like how might we create scenarios that reflect what their world looks like? So they get it and they're not trying to like put themselves into the shoes of someone else. For example, if someone is in a wheelchair, consistently having examples and activities where it's like you walk over there or you're running on a running track and this happens, like that's not something they can relate to. And if it's that consistently, like you're not going to engage them. If it's a language thing, like incorporate their language. Like I know we've done that before where we have like different versions of a course for the different languages rather than getting people to try and understand a language they don't know. I think that's all I can think of.
Thank you. It's given me some things to process.
Cool.
And experiment with.
Nice. All right. Well, my question is, so it's something I'm working on and I've got lots of information and criteria that I need to meet, but it all has to fit into like a very short video. And I'm just wondering what advice, like there are strategies I do know, but if I can get other insights from you girls on how to like portray value and enthusiasm and tick all the boxes in a short period of time. Or with less words.
Is it a face to camera only?
It just video is the only.
Okay.
Like that's the criteria. Video.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's like, say you've got a criteria which is like, I don't know, demonstrate the value that it brings, and the person is like, here's all the amazing things we did, and they just like, just for example, I don't know why I did that right there with the hands, but like spraying them out, and then all the words or pictures of the amazing things just go on the screen, so you don't have to say them. Like it's not like we did X and then we did Y and then it had this value and this is more value. It's just like pop, 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 basically on screen visually showing it. Or doing that same thing with words. So instead of storytelling in terms of a narrative of sentences that work, just be like, you know how sometimes they put the question on screen and then it's just like the person's just like literally like changed lives, people got careers, pay rises, like not even full sentences, but just literally bombarding the value and express. It's like what we had, that social change video on Netflix or whatever, the masterclass we did, how to communicate for social change. It's like you don't need to spell it out when it's implied. So how can we take advantage of implied value or an implied answer?
Love that.
I will pause for now. That's my initial thinking.
I love that. Reminds me of TikTok videos. Like, they can be so short, but you get so much from them. Like, they're hilarious and you tell everyone and it's this big story, but it can go for like 10 seconds.
Yes, we must use the TikTok.
Love it.
Yeah, I think there's what. No, I was just exactly what I was thinking. I didn't want to throw you out.
Now it's the paid research week.
Well, yeah, what have we seen on there that, oh, I don't have it, but I know there are certain members of the team that are experts in the TikTok. Anything coming to mind?
You do a skit.
I nominate you as tribute.
No, I actually don't have any ideas this time.
You can do a TikTok skit. We don't need you for the script anymore, Kim.
What's that?
We don't need you for the script. Vic and I will meet up. We've got other plans.
I remember remember the ad that I did one time where I was trying to make a video. We never launched it for the onboarding boot camp, and it was just like all the photos. It was like 300 photos, but it was literally like they were on screen for less than a second each, and I had the voiceover, so it was like just constant, like a slideshow, really fast painting. Like, do you remember that one? It wasn't very well
but
done.
I know what you talk. I can imagine what you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Obviously. Thanks. My whole life is so insignificant when I think it's such a significant. It was literally what it was about.
No, it's because I've watched too many TikToks since then. It's like buried in the depths.
And then the other one could be like even just, what if it was Hannah, like those, we did the green screen videos recently, so I'm talking over, but it's like scrolling through, like you're probably making notes of like all the amazing things and how we're adding value and like all the incredible impact that we have done or are doing or plan to do in a dot list. So what if it's like in the background, that's either the image on screen or scrolling through a screen share of that, and then the green screen over it is being like, here's all the amazing things, like I can't list them, but like there's 27 million ideas, or testimonials that are flying. It's like, here's all the things that people are saying, 5 stars, ding 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 ding. I think it's like trying to get into a couple of the senses at once, maybe, is what I'm getting at here. So it's sight and vision and hearing to kill 2 birds at the same time for impact. So it's showing abundance and it's locking in through guarantee through the verbal. Maybe it's storytelling or analogy. I'm just looking outside and I'm like seeing a tree. So for some reason, the trees that I'm looking at do not have the answer, but I just thought of like a redwood, which is really big and really old, and people know the size of that. So is it saying this is the redwood of XYZ? This is like the Amazon, or this will go as far and as long as the longest river in the world. I'm hoping. No, I'm not even gonna say the river. I think.
But like, Nile?
Well, I thought it was that, and then I was like, I think it might be the Amazon. And then I'm like,
what is it mean?
In the comments, people, let us know. Let's get But is it? Can we go? This is the 7 wonders of the world of the XYZ. This is the Sahara Desert of blah blah blah.
I really love that.
But yeah. Is it making likeness? Is it similes and metaphors that already help people embody the thing? And that's how you get the emotion in there, right? Because they might not, when you go back to, you were trying to get authenticity. God, you got me on a roll now. Authenticity and what was it? Genuine. They were looking for genuineness. Like, people might not resonate with, for example, me as being genuine on the TV screen, But
Yeah.
if you can tap into the genuineness of the credibility and authenticity of something that already is out there. So for example, are there people in the world, like, I don't want to name them because everyone's going to have like an opinion, but like if we think about Mahatma Gandhi, it's like, it's the Mahatma Gandhi of blah blah blah, it's the Mother Teresa of da 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 da, it's
Yeah.
the, I don't know, the what's a fucking, it's the wise owl. Like, use the stories that we already relate to tell the story back in the way that hits their criteria.
I love that.
Jesus, your whole script to be fucking upheavaled now. Sorry about you, mate.
I think we'll be working on it in my catch-up, Kim. I might need some additional catch-up time for all these grand ideas. They're very good. I love
but
the
this
metaphor
is good.
one.
This is helping me for something as well. So
Oh,
thank you.
cool. That's good. Yeah, when you're saying that, like the Amazon and like it's like this, like I felt myself being drawn into it. So I think that's a really cool concept.
That's cool because you're tapping into the senses then, which is hard to do in a 2D thing.
Yeah.
It's, oh, that's cool. It smells like, it tastes like, the color is blah blah blah. Like, that's where you can get the emotion. Because I think the most effective stuff, I don't think, I'm testing out at the moment, is the most effective change coming through experience, and experience is as many senses as possible being touched at the one time.
Yeah. Love. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Hello.
Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Vic, you got any TikTok?
I'm done. Thank you.
To whom it may concern, I'm done. Please consider my application. I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. We hope you got value from it like we did. Just a reminder, if you are looking to advance your instructional design career and take your instructional design skills to the next level, check out the courses on our Creator Hub. We'll pop them in the description below, and we will see you in a future episode.
What's up, awesome human? Thank you on behalf of myself and the Belvista Studios team for continuously choosing to learn with us. We really appreciate it. If the tips and the insights and the context resonate with you and you want to take your skills to the next level, or you want to make your life way easier, you will love our Creator Hub. The Creator Hub is a place for people like you and us. Basically, it's the stuff that we use internally at Belvista Studios, and then we just share it publicly with you. The Creator Hub is created by instructional designers for instructional designers, and what you'll love there at the moment is we've got a quiz, Could I Be a Better Instructional Designer, that has so much tips in the feedback if you're interested in human-centered design or just taking your skills to the next level in terms of the solutions you're creating and the problems you want to solve. But in there as well, aren't we cute? That's us. But we've got the coaching courses, freebies, give us gratitude, and also we've got some templates. And basically they're always around the lens of learning experience design, instructional design, and e-learning. So a human-centered design focus is very much what we're about at Belvista Studios. So putting your learners at the heart of a solution and creating something for their needs. So there's the human-centered design stuff, and then we've also got the business stuff. So this is the stuff they don't teach you about when you want to become a freelancer or a consultant in the instructional design world. So go check it out. The link is in the description. You can check out everything that is available for you. Thank you for choosing to learn with us. Continuously invest in your skills. You will be rewarded as an instructional designer. Share this stuff, share it with other people, because when we are better instructional designers, we create better solutions that create better humans, that create a better world. So we have a very important role, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Have an awesome day.